Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Wild Open. We apologize for subjecting you to what you just witnessed there, but reality is sinking in. The end is nigh as we are getting ready for the grand finals to crown our first ever Wild champion. My name is Frodan. I will be walking you guys through this final series along with Brian Kibler. It's been a fast few days here, but we're coming down to the last series here, Kibler.
Yeah, and we've seen all kinds of awesome action so far, and all kinds of awesome news as well. All the packs through the Hearthstone's history, which are all legal and wild, are coming back to the Hearthstone store. The players are taking a little bit of a break before the finals, so we're going to sort of reminisce, walk through the history of Hearthstone a little bit, take a look at some of our favorite cards from those sets that are coming back.
Yep, so let's go ahead and rewind time to back to the beginning. Naxxramas kicked off the first of the expansion content through an adventure of the lair of Kael'thas himself, as we got to explore a bunch of Death Rattle-themed minions, of course highlighted by the legendary Lotheb, which is terrorizing a lot of spell-based decks like Miracle Rogue and Freeze Mage. Of course, don't forget about some of these other really powerful Death Rattles. You may have remembered Mad Scientist Sludge Belcher, but how about the days of Nerubian Egg with Zoo and Void Caller summoning up big minions?
Or Undertaker. We didn't see that on the screen. It was so powerful that it was in fact nerfed and no longer grows in health. Doesn't quite snowball nearly as powerful as it did before. We see some of the action from those days. Well, we've come a long way since then, both in terms of
Certainly
the card pool itself, Knife Juggler, no longer a 3/2, but also production value.
Yes, this was the Legendary Series back in the end of 2014. You're starting to see some of the players that we've seen for years now. Of course, everyone knows Chalky, even Ping Ping Moo, who's made multiple championship appearances for the Hearthstone Championship Tour. Frozen, that was way back when he was first starting to compete. And now 2.5 years later, he's the silver medalist from the Winter Championship. Really cool to see that, along with some of our old favorite cards in Naxxramas. And of course, to walk through, we're not going to do this alone. We have many expansions and adventures to go through. So let's hop on over to Raven Subtle to remember Goblins versus Gnomes.
Thanks, Frodan. Yeah, GVG was definitely a great expansion for everyone. It was the first full expansion outside of Adventure. Sol shaking his head because he doesn't like fun. Isn't too much of a surprise, but definitely a memorable expansion. If you want to say anything else, we can check out some of the key cards here.
Yeah, the real exciting part about this was the first full-sized expansion, right? It was really what gave us the potential of what Hearthstone could grow and become with this enormous amount of cards coming out. We saw, of course, Dr. Boom, Piloted Shredder. They were the ubiquitous neutral cards that Team 5 have now kind of tried to move away from, not make these neutral cards that are so powerful they go into every deck. Shredder and Dr. Boom kind of laid the groundwork for that philosophy to come to fruition, but you can see some of the highlights here. Quartermaster created mid-range Paladin as an actual real powerful deck, and it was, of course, the deck for refined gentleman Hearthstone players.
Yeah, and then we saw quite a memorable moment for anyone who was there and watched it. The turn 3 kill for the Warren Zappomatic Firebat versus Sifka. Sifka just even saying, yeah, okay, that was kind of great.
Yes, and then a little bit of a sneak preview of what's coming here as you see a bit of patron action, but the focus here is on those boom bots that was creating chaos. And speaking of chaos, if you've been watching competitive Hearthstone for a long time, you probably remember this series. Sneed's Old Shredder dropping repeated Kael'thas that then revived the Sneed's Old Shredder, not once but twice. Tice having no answer to that, having to very rapidly concede.
Not once, but twice.
Ooh.
Yeah, but yeah, there was a lot of death rattles, a lot of effects as well. Even we saw just a lot of just craziness in general in GVG. All the mechs going absolutely nuts. But check out the next expansion. There's Frodan and Kibler back at the desk.
I was casting that match with TJ back in the day for Legendary Series when it happened 3 times. That was crazy, the amount of Kael'thas and Sneasel Shredders. Moving on, of course, to Blackrock Mountain, the year 2015. It was our second adventure being released, which a huge focus on one card. I can't remember the name of this card. Oh, that's right, Grim Patron.
Oh, yeah. This was sort of, on paper, the Dragon expansion. You had the Blackwing Corruptors, the Blackwing Technicians, all of that fun stuff. But this was really what it turned out things were about. Grim Patron got in there every now and then again and again and again, along with Emperor Tharson, also hanging out with his Master Ragnaros in Blackrock Depths there. The Emperor Tharson is one of my favorite cards in Hearthstone. It's a card that's really controversial because it enables lots of very, very powerful combos. The one-turn combos with Freeze Mage, Force of Nature Savage Roar was a huge part of that, or the Warlock combos, one-turn or very close to one-turn kills. But the fact that it just really goes outside the box and enables lots of really cool things that otherwise couldn't happen, I think is great for the game.
Oh, absolutely. And I think people also have some bittersweet memories of Flame Waker and the Dragon synergies that really came together primarily through Blackwing Corruptor, for example, which ended up dominating a huge part of the Whispers of the Old God meta that was just recently last year. And, of course, after Blackrock Mountain came the second full expansion of the Grand Tournament over with Raven and Subtle.
Yeah, the Grand Tournament, introduced Inspire into the game as well.
Sorry, what was that?
What?
Inspire? Never heard of it.
Okay, there you go. That's why at first I thought you were serious. But mainly, it wasn't a mechanic that was too successful for all of the players, but there was a couple of cards in there that really, really were. I think the two cards in the top left there are the key ones.
Yeah, first of all, I don't know how Kibler got to do the patron meta, and I'm getting the meta where dragons actually became viable. This seems to be backwards, but there was quite a few slow burn cards in the Grand Tournament, things that didn't quite see their power level hit peak until later expansions. So that left us with, as you said, the two top left cards there. Justicar Trueheart giving the tank up Resident Sleeper, tank up Resident Sleeper, I'm out of cards, Resident Sleeper, I concede Resident Sleeper meta.
It was a great meta. I missed the days.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, it does show that the styles do change over expansions, and you look at Warrior today versus Tank Warrior, you may have fond memories of one and not the other one, depending on your opinion. But Mysterious Challenger was a card that I thought was slept on quite a lot. When everyone saw the card, it was like, well, all the Paladin secrets are bad, and not as much if you can play them all in one turn as well as a 6/6. And the interactions between those are what's really made it, in my opinion.
Yeah, Mysterious Challenger kind of defined what a mid-range deck needs, where, a mid-range deck just wants to play cards on curve, but you need something that spikes above the power curve, right? Yep. That defines a mid-range deck, or else it wouldn't be able to compete with other decks doing the same thing. Mysterious Challenger was just the quintessential example of that happening.
Yeah, it really was. And then next up was League of Explorers. It had a few legendary minions in there. Mainly Reno Jackson, I feel, has probably been the singular card that has the biggest impact on the game as a whole, with just creating a whole new archetype. Reno decks in general, they were actually called Reno decks, which are like single card or at least unique card decks that actually just blew up the meta. But there are a few others as well. Tunnel Trog I'm looking at, bit of anything as well.
Yeah, there was, these cards are really what activated some of the TGT cards that we saw beforehand. We saw Raven Idol activating the kind of combo druid decks that then Aviana ended up in. We saw Tunnel Trog being such a great baseline for Totem Golem that became oppressively powerful as well. So that's kind of the thing that we've seen throughout Hearthstone's history is subsequent expansions adding missing puzzle pieces to ones in the previous.
Yeah, and just anything, right? I mean, you've just got to appreciate the power of that card alone. It was kind of like the first card that really made the Murlocs viable. But what really stuck out for me was just in League of Explorers, just the characters. We have Elise back as well. We had, Finley, and then even Reno Jackson, who just couldn't really take his eye off Treasure and just got really distracted and tried to steal things he really shouldn't mess with. This is just not a good idea. At all. Don't do it. Oh my God, this is a problem. I feel like something's going to go wrong. Okay, maybe not. We're okay. Although I can hear a rumbling. Jesus!